Hello, my name is Don Corleone, and today I'm going to show you the 3 reasons why you're stuck at small stakes. Poker is chaos. Tell me if you find this familiar. You start playing poker, you're grinding the micro stakes, the small stakes, and at some point you decide that you want to take your strategy to the next level. You want to actually find how to play properly. You get online, you start looking for videos, for content, and what you see is never-ending amounts of information. So many topics, so many different approaches, and so many different people telling you to do so many different things. In fact, a lot of coaches or a lot of strong players seem to disagree. Use the HUD more, use the HUD less, study with the solver more, study with the solver less. If you have a friend who plays higher stakes than you and you send him a hand or you post a hand on a forum, you get a lot of answers like, it depends, I don't know, we need more information. There's also seemingly infinite topics. 4 flush, 4-bet pots, blockers on the river, the sizing, geometric, super geometric. There's just so many things to learn out there. And at the end of the day, you feel lost. You don't know what direction to take. Well, hopefully in this video, I can show you the general direction you need to move towards. One of the main mistakes that you're probably making is focusing too much on small edges. Now, this might be a little bit of a controversial topic because it is a common talking point that poker is a game of small edges. And to some extent, that's true. That is great advice for someone who's not putting enough attention to detail. But if you're watching GTO Wizard videos and you're using a solver regularly, this is probably not your problem. In fact, you might be making the opposite mistake, which is paying too much attention to details that are not yet your priority. Like, for example, being too specific about blockers, being too specific about sizings, pre-flop, on the flop, or trying to achieve some kind of perfect balance and being unexploitable. In reality, poker is a game of big edges. There is an elephant in the room. Your opponents are making such blatant mistakes, especially at the micro stakes and small stakes, and you need to find what those mistakes are and take advantage of them. Let's look, for example, at this spot. This is a bet check bet situation in a single raise pot, button versus big blind. If we filter for the bluffs, we will see certain things like 10-8 of hearts being a less preferred bluff than the other suits. Whereas for Jack 10 of hearts is very preferred for bluffing, while Jack 10 of clubs isn't. And if we look at 8-5, it seems like the spades are the least preferred bluffs. Now, I'm sure there is a valid reason for these blocker choices by the solver, but I will confess to you, I don't know what it is, I don't care, and I'm not going to put any effort into finding out. Why? Because there is a much bigger edge to be had in this spot, especially at low stakes. This is a commonly overfolded line. If we go to the big blind strategy and we node lock a slight overfold, what we will see very quickly is that we start bluffing every single hand. And in fact, the EV of bluffing is very superior to checking. This is why poker, especially at micros and small stakes, is a game of big edges. So, what should be our approach? First of all, you need to prioritize spots. There is a great spreadsheet that Tombo's made in which you input your GTO Wizard score for each position, and it multiplies it by the frequency of that spot and the size of the pot in that spot. And that gives you your priority number for that particular situation. You need to review your own database. You need to learn to interpret your own stats. If you're playing low stakes, you certainly have very big leaks. And if you can find what those are and find solutions to them, your strategy will become much more solid. Exploit obvious tendencies. There is a lot of low-hanging fruit at lower stakes and even at higher stakes. Don't get caught on all of the small details and make sure you're noticing the elephant in the room. Focus on practical takeaways. When you're studying, you should try to come up with a generalized conclusion from what you looked at. You need to be able to apply what you learn to different situations. You can't be waiting for the same exact situation to repeat. Another mistake that we're going to look at is quality over quantity. And again, this is another controversial topic because it would seem intuitive that quality is better than quantity. To some extent, this is true. It's good to have every once in a while one of these sessions where you go overhand with your mates and you spend 1 or 2 hours reviewing just that hand. But the problem is that you have a lot of leaks that range from big pots and big decisions to a lot of small, mundane decisions that happen very often. You are probably overthinking about the unknowable. There's a lot of big decisions where maybe you have a top pair and you're facing a triple barrel in a 3-up pot and you're trying to find reasons to possibly get away somehow. This is very difficult, and this is what I would call a small edge. You're probably focusing too much on big pots. A lot of mistakes that people are making happen pre-flop, in small pots, on the flop. Remember, small pot doesn't equal small edge. People are playing a lot of tables, they're playing a lot of volume, and there's certainly big edges to be had in all of these spots. So let's go back to this situation where we are button versus big blind, single raise pot. But now we're going to look at what happens when we face a quarter pot bet. What do you think is the weakest defend against this bet? And notice I said defend and not call. So I'm counting bluff raises, value raises, calls, everything. Do you think it's bottom pair, 3 in this case? Do you think it's ace high? Do you think it's 8 high? If we look at it, we see that the weakest defend is 8 high. Okay, for some people, this is the first time that they've seen this because they've actually never opened a sim in this specific situation. They've opened sims for a triple barrel in a 4-bet pot, a triple barrel in a 3-bet pot, at 250% all in on the river in a single raise pot. But they've never looked at what happens when they c-bet the flop and they check back the turn and they face a bet. For some people, it might even be surprising the fact that you're calling hands like ace-8 here almost pure, and that you're calling hands like ace-jack and ace-10 at a very high frequency. So what should we do? You need to develop a broadly decent strategy instead of a sometimes great but mostly bad strategy. You need to review lots of hands. My personal recommendation is that you export your hands that reach the flop each session and you upload them to GTO Wizard. GTO Wizard will give you a GTO score and an EV loss, and then you can use these numbers to sort the hands by the spots in which you are actually making the biggest mistakes instead of the spots that you care about the most. Another recommendation is that you drill many different spots in a GTO trainer. The last point we're going to make, and certainly not the least important, in fact maybe the most important, is a generally bad approach. For example, being complacent. In order to get good at poker, you need to have passion for improving your strategy constantly. Rationalizing emotional play. A lot of players, especially at lower stakes, are very prone to saying things like, I know that the solver told me to bluff here. I know that my coach told me that bluffing here works really well, but I'm not going to do it because in my pool, my opponents call me always. In reality, what's probably happening is that whenever you do get called, you feel really bad, but the bluff works just fine. Try to understand your own emotions and practice self-awareness. Being too results-oriented. Look, at the end of the day, we want to make money. We care about results. But sometimes the variance in this game is huge and we need to turn down the volume and keep grinding. Waiting for someone to tell you what to do. No one is going to put in the work for you. You need to be proactive. Find what your leaks are, find what your problems are, and fix them. So, to summarize, look for practical takeaways when studying. Try to generalize your conclusions in order to use them in new spots and not just the spot that you looked at. Focus on the elephant in the room. If you are stuck at small stakes, the reason is going to be a big one, not a small, minute detail. Study quantity, not just quality and depth. It's good to have one of those long one-hand review sessions, but you also need to look at a lot of small pots. Be proactive. Find what your leaks are and fix them. That's all for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something, and see you in the next one.